Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor, the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. We are recommending people shift to Spotify with us. Pods get up there quicker, and you can get them on either platform. So you don't have to pay anything there. You don't have to get the premium. You can still get us. Just search for Five on the Floor. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. $2.99 per month. Link right there in description. Speaking of Apple, you can bypass the Apple upcharge if you just click on the link there. That bypasses the extra buck. $2.99 per month. The place for the most heat, information, conversation, consternation, celebration, negotiations. I have nothing else. Check it out. It's Off the Floor. Link right there in the description. Also, check out Prize Picks. That's the official fantasy sponsor of the Five Reasons Sports Network. You know this one already. Put down $5. You get $50 to play right away. Use the code, please, FIVE. That helps keep us in business. Use the code 5. They're giving you $50. I'm not taking anything from you. That's up to you if you just make bad picks. Check it out. PrizePicks.com. Use the code FIVE. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yeah, five on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, inspire, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports. I got Digital Adel. You can follow him at Digital Adel. He handles the draft stuff for us. You can also find him on playback.tv/5RSN, as well as our Discord server, Off the Floor. And there's a draft channel there specifically. So if you want to go for the latest information, you can find it. Also, check out the recent episode. Yes, we are producing more content lately. We also just had our best 24 hours ever. So more people are tuning in, even with the Heat not playing. Thank you, Pat. You want to speak tomorrow? You can do that. It's fine. We'll be there. I'll make arrangements to get there. But lots of content we're going to be putting out, experimenting with some different things here, getting in some more voices. But nothing's happening to Alex and Brady and Greg. So don't worry about any of that. They'll be back. But just more of these two-person episodes, conversations that we're having lately. We're going to talk about the draft a lot in the next month. He'd have the 20th pick. It's not their pick. It's Golden State's pick. They should have their own pick next year because that is now not unprotected. It's not being given away. And they basically reset the pick clock, as Pat Riley spoke about. So one of the many things he talked about was kind of being in better position than they've been in recent years. We know some of the reasons why they haven't had picks. In one case, it was because they had to execute a Jimmy Butler trade that seemed to work out okay. Nobody really complained about it. Just like people didn't complain about the extra picks they had to throw in to get LeBron and Bosh way back in 2010 because of the rules at the time and because they wanted opt-outs after 4 years to get their full 6-year deals, and that's the way it had to be done. Or at least that's the way that the teams that they were negotiating with, Toronto and Cleveland, wanted it to be done. So they are in better position, but people are complaining, of course, about the Rozier pick, which, as we get to that point, but at least now it's not pushed back. It's not unprotected. They'll be able to clear the decks on it. But Adele, they do have the 20th pick in the draft. And I was just curious because I guess we were focusing so much on big picture stuff with Riley and also his comments on Spoelstra, his comments on Hero, a little bit on Bam, a lot on Jimmy. But there really wasn't a lot as far as what kind of young players they want to add to the mix. And he did talk about having a crew of young players. My understanding, though, is, or at least my sense of it, when he was talking about making an Iguodala-Crowder-like trade, is that if it was up to him, he'd have more veteran role players on this team that could be counted on a little bit more. Maybe I'm reading that wrong, but that's the sense that I got. And, right now, like they've drafted a bunch of guys like Hero and Bam are their cornerstones for better or worse. They were drafted 13th and 14th. They drafted Jovic. They drafted Jaquez. Jaquez was a disappointment this year. Jovic might not be a disappointment if he could stay on the court consistently. And then Ware, who showed promise as the 15th pick, but also showed some of the warts that we knew about before the draft, which you talked about related to motor and things along those lines. When you listen to Pat, what was your impression of what he might want to do in the draft this year, if anything?
My impression of what Pat Riley said at the press conference was a little bit of covering his bases in all avenues. Like, if he goes and gets an aging star, like that aging star comment, we all know he's talking about Kevin Durant, quote unquote, or not quote unquote, but our interpretation of what he is saying.
My objective when I asked the question was for him to say Kevin Durant without saying Kevin Durant. So for the first time in my life, mission accomplished. Yes.
Mission accomplished. Absolutely.
Right.
Now, the thing with the whole ribbity thing and the whole, that whole Liberty commercial thing, he's really saying that if they swing and miss on Durant, like somebody like Houston, for example, swoops in, steals Kevin Durant away, and they don't get the opportunity to acquire him, they're going to have to pivot. And the retool may be something he really didn't want to do, but he's open and the organization is open and willing to do. So it seems like he was just covering both sides of it to me.
Right. And then there's also the third option, which is that you kind of split the difference and make a reshuffling trade. And I know that's the one that gets us in a panic with where they're at right now. As Sedano said, pick a lane, and so it does seem like he's got two lanes. Like there's the Durant lane, but if that exit is blocked off, then okay, we'll keep going down the street. Like that's sort of what this feels like to me. But in light of that, look, they could trade this pick. Like they could. Yep. They could make it and then trade it. They could draft it for somebody else. This is a little bit more of the quote unquote flexibility that they have at this stage. So if that's the case, let me just ask you this question: if they go get Kevin Durant without having to trade this pick, does that change what you would use this pick on? Because you and I have already had a couple conversations about what they need. They need a playmaker in the backcourt. Pat said that. He said we need another guy like Tyler, right? And we don't Davion Mitchell, but that's not his description. I mean, there's a lot of good things to say about Davion Mitchell, but he's not a Tyler-like player. So if let's say they trade for Durant, they don't give up this pick. I don't know if that's possible, but if they don't give up this pick, let's say they don't give up Tyler, Bam, and maybe they give up Wiggins, okay, but we'll see, or Duncan's, partial guaranteed contract, or whatever. Does it change what you think they would go for?
It does, actually. So if you're going to have a core that consists of Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero, Davion Mitchell, being your first guy either off the bench or holding down the backup point guard spot, you need somebody that can create, facilitate, and get buckets for you out of the guard spot. And that would kind of be a perfect fit for Cam Jones. Cam Jones is not without his limitations. I mean, his foot speed leaves a lot to be desired. His vertical athleticism, kind of like Tyler, leaves a lot to be desired. But he's a very crafty scorer. He's very smart. He's a senior. He can facilitate and he can ball handle. So I would think they would lean the older ball handling guard type prospect. Also, Walter Clayton Jr. in that spot would be good off the bench because he'd be able to provide that scoring punch leading that second group. And Davion then would have to start with the starters in that scenario, in my opinion.
Kind of like a Peyton Pritchard has developed into in Boston, similar in that sense.
Like a Pritchard, like a Patty Mills from the Spurs days.
Right.
That sort of player, yeah.
Okay. All right. So on the other side of this, what I want to get to with you, so they don't trade for Durant and they use the pick. What do you think he will be looking for? So we'll get to that on the other side. Before we do, we want to mention our friends over at Cousins USA Moving and Storage. Both, by the way, they handle that. They got a great deal for you too. Check it out. Okay, you can only get this from us. Go to cousinsusa.com/5RSN. You're going to get these wardrobe boxes free. We know that that's a pain. You don't want to have to pack all that stuff yourself in little boxes and all that. You got your clothes. They're going to get all messed up. Okay, just don't. If you don't like to iron, like I don't like to iron, go to cousinsusa.com cousinsusa.com/5RSN, Cousins USA /5RSN. Your Fort Lauderdale movers, but they service the entire area around here. You can also find them at 888-300-6683. That's 888-300. That's 300-6683. Great family business, really good people. And again, they are South Florida people, huge Miami sports fans, family owned since 1996. cousinsusa.com/5RSN. All right, so let's say they don't get Durant. And it's not just Houston, by the way. It's also Minnesota, I think, has been a team that's been mentioned. Or he may not go anywhere. We'll see. I mean, it looks like they have to do something that they were awful this past year. Now, it wasn't his fault. It wasn't Booker's fault. Jeez, what did I just do? I just coughed in my screen. Was it his fault? Was it Booker's fault? Well, I don't even smoke. Anyway, but let's get to it as you're cracking up at me. If he is not acquired, there we go. It just faded. If he is not acquired by the Miami Heat, and they are sort of with this roster that they currently have, you still think of Cam Jones is the direction that they might go, or that type of player? Or is there something else that they're going to need? Oh, you're on mute.
I was too busy laughing. If they don't acquire Kevin Durant, I strongly believe it's going to be best player available at that point, and they could go in a number of different directions because the board can fall in probably 100,000 different ways. It feels like in this draft, because I think there's also going to be quite a few significant trades during the draft because of the teams that have 4 and 5 draft picks. Like, a lot of them are good teams. They can't even support that many players. So, like, just the tea leaves tell you there's going to have to be some trades that are made during this draft with all these draft picks, in my opinion. So, but with that being said, best player available, I have this sneaking suspicion because big men with foot injuries tend to be, they fall down the board sometimes. Because when you have a big man with a foot injury, you never quite know how that's going to go. It's not really a great sign for, 7 foot or a near 7-footer to come off a foot injury in college. But Thomas Sorber as a freshman, he's my second favorite big in the entire draft. That's counter to most draft experts. They like Derek Queen, some like Colin Murray Boyles and all that. But if Sorber falls to the Miami Heat at 20, I mean, you take that guy. Because I think he's that good. But I'm not opposed to somebody like LeBaron Philon. I don't think Ben Serif is going to make it to 20. I love Ben Serif at the point guard spot.
Doesn't seem like him.
Yeah.
I think you've talked him up too much among others. I guess the question about going for a big, and yeah, you mentioned foot injuries. I think Yao Ming, I think Greg Oden, I think a whole bunch of stuff. But okay, it is the only way guys fall. So it's sort of like everybody's like, well, they should have gotten Kevin Durant 4 years ago. I mean, you realize it would have been more expensive then. Like it was more expensive then. It was Mikal Bridges and a whole bunch of picks, right? I mean, there's a reason that values decline. But with that being said, if you're talking about going after a big, I mean, is that you're just talking about a player who's going to play basically 15 minutes behind Bam and Ware? Is that what we're doing here?
Well, the league is sizing up. Sorber's a little different than Ware. Ware has greater athleticism. He's just a freak athlete for his size. Thomas Sorber's technical. I mean, he's got great footwork. He's strong as an ox, great hands, plays hard all the time. He's a big mouth communicator, so he gets people set on the back end. I think he could play 20, 25 minutes right away, and he gives you Khalil Ware insurance in case those motor issues and strength issues don't get rectified in the offseason. But also, you could go with a big like Danny Wolf if he's still there. And Danny Wolf is 7 foot 250, but he can handle the ball like a guard. So there's going to be somebody there, I mean, that they can use and they can take. I genuinely think it's going to be best player available at that point.
Can you make a case with what we saw from Wiggins in playoffs, which was highly disappointing? I know he had some games in the regular season. He was in and out of the lineup for a variety of reasons, primarily the ankle. But that this team, like when we've talked about the structure of this team, if you are, let's say you're not making the Durant trade, let's say you're bringing back Bam and Ware, you're re-signing Davion, you're bringing back Tyler.
Right.
Whoever is in the middle of that, like, needs to do a whole bunch of different things, because
Right.
The Davion Hero backcourt is small and doesn't have a ton of creation overall, like compared to some others around the league. And the front court, we don't know if that's going to work right now with Bam and Ware. That's still kind of a work in progress. The spacing's not ideal. So like, are you say like, I mean, could you look at like a versatile wing 3-and-D type player there? Those are at a premium right now. The Knicks, they're losing today as we record this, but obviously they built a strategy. We talked about it all offseason to beat Boston, which was, go get as many athletic defensive wings as you and physical athletic defensive wings as you can. Can you make a case for that?
Absolutely. You can never have too many of those guys on your roster. Functional size and length is something this team's been missing in the past 3 to 4 years. The league has gone to that. Rasheer Fleming is a name I see all the time. I love Rasheer Fleming for what he can do. Shot 43% from three in the college. Long arms, can defend point of attack. That being said, and everything you said, he'll be gone in the teens. I don't think he'll be there. But could an older guy like Nick Clifford from Colorado State, hold on, hear me out now. There's somebody on the Miami Heat roster that he played with. Isaiah Stevens was his point guard.
Your guy.
He was his point guard in college. So Nick Clifford.
I forgot Isaiah Stevens was on the team because they were force feeding us Rozier the whole year.
That's horrible.
Really did. Yeah, it is. It was horrible. You and I just both lived through it. Okay, so that's an interesting one. I mean, I think there's a bunch of different directions here. One final question here, and we'll do more of these episodes with Adel as we go forward. Chicago camp's coming up, right? It's real soon, isn't it?
It's going on right now.
Right. Okay. So
G League Elite Camp is in Chicago, and then the other one is coming up at the end of the week.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so and I've been there a couple times, and I know obviously this is where some players jump. Give me before the Chicago camp your one. This doesn't have to be a Heat target, but your one expected riser in the Chicago camp and your one expected fall dropper.
That's a great one. That's a great one. I have to pull up the list of who was invited to that camp because there's 2 Chicago camps. I want to make sure we're referencing the correct one. Are we talking about the G League Elite camp?
No, we're talking about the college prospect camp.
Copy that. All right, Chicago college camp. Or so I guess all the college kids are going to be there, right? All the major ones. So I mean, in all the major ones, I see a faller in Liam McNeely. I don't think Liam McNeely is going to be a guy that people are going to really fawn over. I mean, his 3-point shooting is very reminiscent of like how Jason Capono was for the Heat back in the day. But picture Jason Capono's game in the modern NBA.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do much else. Like there isn't much point of attack defense. He can't take anybody off the dribble. That's Liam McNeely. So he would be a guy that I think is going to fall. Jace Richard. Actually, I'll tell you what, there's 2. Jace Richardson and Tahad Pettiford are going to blow people's doors off for what they are going to be coming out of that game.
Well, you've liked Jace Richardson a lot from the beginning of this. All right, well, we'll see how it plays out. We'll have coverage of all of this as we go forward. I want to get you some of these quick episodes just to kind of give you a sense as we're leading up to the end of June and the draft. I'm assuming the Heat will do some kind of a draft function this year. They didn't last year because I think they had a conflict at the arena, but we'll have our crew there covering it. Adel's going to be with us. Check us out on the Discord. Again, it's Digital Adel on Twitter as well. And also check us out on playback.tv/5RSN. Have a good one, everybody.
See you.